Hello and welcome to the Magic Mirror podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Con, the Trinket Mage, and with me is my co-host, 33 Elk.
Hello.
Additionally, we have our other co-host, Salubrious Snail.
Hello.
And this week we have a special guest, Phil, aka Brewer's Kitchen.
Yo. A little early on the hello, but hello.
That's okay. How are you doing?
Very well. Kind of cool to not have a camera here, so I can just sit here in my pajamas. No lighting, just cozy.
Yeah.
I record the podcast fully naked every single time.
Nice.
I put on a 8-piece suit. Real quick, do you want to just give a brief introduction as to who you are?
Yeah, I'm Phil, aka Brewer's Kitchen. I make very highly edited content for MTG Goldfish, and I also am part of their podcasts and Commander Clash, although I'm not on Clash this season. So if you watch a upcoming Clash, I'm not gonna be there unless I'm filling in, which happens quite a bunch. So yeah, that's it. I'm sometimes Clash and sometimes my videos, although they release every other week.
Yeah, awesome.
Or 3. Yeah. That's it.
No, you're good. This podcast is sponsored by Card Castle, the easy way to sort your collection digitally. If you want to start scanning and sorting your cards today, all you got to do is click the link below to start scanning for free. And if you want to scan them faster, you can use their card sorting robot. If you want to know if your local game store has one, there's a link below to that as well. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the podcast. All right, moving on to our main topic here. We asked you, the viewer, for your specific deck building advice. And most of you failed.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the question just wasn't clear enough. We get all these questions all the time, like, oh, I have like this commander as my, deck.
Yeah.
How do I do this? And it's like, that's not really in the scope of a question zone, but it certainly can be a scope of an entire podcast episode. So we got some at least niche enough comments that we would normally not answer on a question zone here today. So yeah, we have material still.
Yeah. I was just, we were like, what's some specific deck building questions you have? And like the top comment on the post that I put on YouTube isn't a deck building question. That wasn't the one thing I asked for.
Wait, what's that comment?
The top comment is about goldfishing, not deck building.
I'm actually finding some decent ones on that post a little bit further down.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of comments, so I might have missed some of the good ones. I wanted to see what the most liked one was, and by like a wide margin.
Oh, I'm digging deep.
Snails in the trenches.
I'm in the trenches, baby.
Yeah, if you find some good ones, drop them in chat for sure.
I have like 5 sitting in the pasted.
Perfect. Nothing but professionalism here from the Magic Mirror podcast. We have everything prepared.
Oh, I figured this was cut out. if this part's cut out,
keep it in, Yusef. Yusef, keep it in.
Yeah, look, we abide by one rule here. Yusuf will fix it in post. Oh yeah, Phil, Yusuf's our editor. You can ask him to put things on screen, but he's like a genie, so it's only like 3 times a podcast, and then
and he's gonna twist it against you in some horrific way.
Okay. I'll use it wisely if I need to.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Do we want to start answering some of these questions then?
Yes. Do you want to read them?
I can read
my
them,
head
absolutely.
hurts.
Do you want to tell the story of why your head hurts while I read this comments that Snail just posted?
It's like a nothing story. My desk is underneath the stairs, and I leaned over to grab my keys, and stairs are angled, and I was too far to the right, so as I leaned over, I just bonked the side of my head on these like, I don't know if that'll make a sound that you can hear, but it's like corrugated steel. I'm in like an industrial building. So like I just hit my head on like a steel beam basically, and now I have like a persistent headache.
That's kind of frightening, honestly.
It's not even interesting.
I think it's a little funny.
It's funny because it's so stupid.
Okay. I think we'll start here. The first one comes from a post I made on my channel from Ham is Good 12. Theme and WinCon to a workable game plan. How's it done? But he gets more specific here. I'm trying to build a Lavinia foil to conspiracy deck. The themes are Second Spell Matters and Clues. I want to use an alt WinCon like Mechanized production or Approach of the Second Sun. I just don't see how to get there.
It's so good that you're reading that because I was going to read that as Hemis good.
That is how I would read it.
The I is not capitalized. That is definitely very confusing. But still, we have a question here to answer. And I read the question, so you guys go
Lavinia
first.
foil to conspiracy. I guess we should read that for the audience, right? Is 1 Hybrid Azorius for a 2/3 human detective with vigilance. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, investigate, and then you can tap, add, colorless, activate only during an opponent's turn.
Wait, so what were the win cons? Approach?
They want approach.
Approach of the Second Sun.
Yeah, and mechanized production.
My first thought when I hear that question is, I think, is this a control deck? Because Lavinia is a second spell each turn deck, so that could be like, casting a couple things on an end step somewhere. Second spell matters.
I think this does make sense as a control deck. But sorry, go ahead, Elliot.
Yeah. For me, I would definitely lean more on Flash on this one. Shadow of the Second Sun is very good, especially with something like mechanized production, right? You put that on a clue and then your upkeep's on the end of your turn. So that's very strong. And then also it works really well with Lavinia, where you can activate all your lands on your turn, untap all your lands at the end of your turn, draw another card, and then you have all that mana, for instance, on top of the Lavinia instant mana. That all being said, you're also in Azorius, which is the best colors for Approach of the Second Sun, because you get access to Narset's Reversal and Remand and Reprieve, which are all spells that bounce a spell back to your hand. And then Approach of the Second Sun, what it says is if you've cast a spell named Approach of the Second Sun, then you win when it resolves. You don't have, the first one didn't have to resolve. So when you remand it back to your hand.
Yeah, so you Narcissus Reversal your own Approach of the Second Sun, and then you could do it all in one turn without having to wait to redraw the approach.
Yeah, and getting killed before that happens. Wait, so the EDH Reckless doesn't have Shrieking Drake? Isn't that a super easy way to cast two spells, at least in your own turn? You just cast it and cast it again.
Ooh,
this is why we brought you on the podcast.
That would be a good one. Especially if you have a Teferi Master of Time, right? That's the 5-mana one that gives all of your creatures flash.
Oh, yeah. Then you can do it every time. I guess if you want to really do it every time, you got to have Urza to tap your clues.
Yeah, the now bracket 2 Urza Lord High Artificer. Which gives you enough mana to do the approach thing.
Removed from the game changer list.
Wait, it got removed? It's not a game changer anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a game changer anymore.
Not up to date. Oh, no. Oh, good.
As of yesterday, it's no longer game changer.
Just going to continue playing it. That's concerning.
I know. We talked about that.
That was our last podcast episode.
I guess it's fine.
I lost my train of thought a bit earlier, but what I was thinking was these seem like kind of control win cons are suggesting. And for getting there, I would think less about the win con and more about the kind of game state you're looking to achieve. What game state gets you to a position where mechanized production is just like this fluffy carpet that leads you to a win? What game state is Approach of the Second Sun something you can easily have take you to a win? And I guess think about that. Think about kind of the game state you're looking for. And if you're playing kind of a more controlling deck, look for a state of stability and think about all of the things that could potentially disrupt that stability, whether that be opposing creatures attacking or a scary opposing spell or some removal or etc. And then through play testing, I think it'll become more clear kind of how to connect the dots more finely than that. But I would focus on the game state.
I mean, the mechanized productions is kind of easy, right? You just clue it up and then, I don't know, wait.
Hold up counter magic, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Both of them kind of work. It's good with Flash. Both of them are kind of good with Flash. But, extra turns also. It's pretty good for upkeep triggers and getting, not sure if that is good advice, but you could go extra turns and then.
A big thing with mechanized production too is it doesn't have to be attached to the thing that's winning you the game. So if you attach it to a dark steel, indestructible rock, or your dark steel citadel, right? Yeah. You can still win off clues. It doesn't have to be enchanting a clue.
Wait, enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. And if you control 8 or more artifacts. Wait, what?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the one.
It's just 8 or more. It doesn't have to be the one that's enchanted.
Yeah, I thought for the longest time I have to enchant a clue with this.
Yeah, that is kind of boring.
Yeah, so you can put it on a soul ring and then use that to ramp. And then use the soul ring mana to just make 10 treasures and win the game.
Yeah, it's kind of trivial. Oh my god. Okay. I already cut this card from my Lonus deck because I thought, well, that's too easy or kind of anticlimactic. And now it's even easier. Wait, so enchant artifacts. So you can only enchant artifacts, but
yeah,
correct.
My god. Okay. Good to know.
I can't wait for this to be the Phil discovers that cards are stupid podcast. Let's move on to the next one here. Let's keep a good pace.
Yeah.
I like this question here from the Unfortunate Pumpkin. How to make Delver of Secret style tempo decks work in Commander?
Oh man, I actually I had a poll recently, kind of like that in my Patreon Discord, asking about like what archetype I should cover next, and so many people said tempo, and I don't even know what to do with that.
I think the only way tempo does anything is if you play stacks, and then it's stacks.
Yeah.
Like you can't tempo out 3 people unless you heavily tempo into stacks and then try to slow them down enough to kill 3 people. That is, I don't know. But
Yeah, so like,
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
just tempo into Armageddon.
what even is the exact definition of tempo?
So I guess I will interject here and say that building a tempo EDH deck has been a forever goal for my friend Hans. And so I define tempo personally as you are trying to get a kind of some sort of Sergio advantage early that you can really grab onto and like run with. And I think this is kind of the idea of Delver as well. You want to get a creature out that can win, and then you just want to pour all of your effort into kind of running with it and getting it to the finish line. When Hans built a like attempted tempo deck, it featured a lot of creatures that would have a kind of major impact on the game if they stuck around and could be gotten out early. So there's like a demon that you can tap artifacts to cast that makes each opponent discard a card at their end step. That's one that I remember.
Oh yeah, the improvise.
I need to find this deck list real quick.
I'm looking at the tempo theme on EDH Rec, which I have no idea what categorizes putting a list in here. But I'm seeing commanders like Edric, Spymaster of Trest, or Tolerant Sky Summoner, which, like, in theory, if you're comparing it to Delver Secrets, right? Delver is you stick a threat, and then you're not quite an aggro deck, but you want that threat to kind of pressure your opponent's life total until they lose, and you kind of like protect it with very efficient cards. Edric kind of does that, and so does Tolerant, right? It gets a card that you can just kind of protect Edric, and then like draw more cards, and then protect Edric more and draw more cards, and like so on and so forth. So I kind of understand that.
Yeah, I actually have a couple decks I would classify as tempo decks. In fact, like probably 3 of them. And really, you just need to break down what Delver's doing in Legacy. Delver is just like the premier tempo deck. You mentioned it in your comments. Delver sticks like a turn 1 Delver or Darcy, and then just like beats your opponent to death and chunks of 3. And you just hold up all the counter magic you possibly can while you're doing that. To protect, and you put like Snail said, you invest all of your resources into that Delver of Secrets that's killing your opponent. My decks that kind of do this, I run Kinesos, Priest of Thassa, who gives me an instant speed mana outlet to make my board even scarier, to kill my opponents faster if I don't have to counter anything. He lets you for 4 mana spin the top card of your library into play if it's a sea monster, for instance. So it's the game plan is I have a giant Kraken in play now. I'm killing you with it, and I'm countering all your spells that try to touch my Kraken. And then if I don't have to do that, I spin another Kraken into play, right? So it's a lot of instant speed. Instant speed is really the thing you need to be focusing on the most for a tempo deck, in my opinion. Another deck like this, I have Saphara Sky's Blade, who's kind of Voltron-y in the form of that she has 7 power, so she's killing you. Once I cast Saphara, I do not need to cast a single other thing that affects the board. I just need to protect her and she'll kill you eventually. So I'll literally hold up like 4 mana for a Plaza of Heroes activation just to protect her from your removal spell because I'm killing you with her. Like she's going to kill you no matter what. So overall, I think it's sticking a huge threat that will kill your opponents and then just playing at instant speed for the rest of the game after sticking that big threat.
You can only play instant speed once? Like, I guess that, don't we call bounce spells tempo because you kind of only gain tempo from it because they don't lose resources?
Yeah, you gain like a mana advantage typically.
Yeah,
you affect their board state temporarily, but it doesn't matter if it's temporary if you kill them.
Yeah,
right. So like, yeah, it's a tempo loss for them. Like a reprieve is a very good card in a tempo deck because you're planning on killing your opponent if their board wipe doesn't resolve anyway. So who cares? You put it back in their hand.
I feel like other than because like a lot of these commanders that are on the EDH rec page for this, I think kind of makes sense. Like Paco Halden can be like a tempo deck because your entire deck can be built around protecting Paco and Halden, and they will eventually win you the game. Like they get card advantage, they get bigger, they do damage. right? Like you can focus your entire list around just protecting that commander, and that commander provides enough value that it wins you the game. So that's your Delver, and then your rest of your stuff is the protection for the Delver. I think an alternative to this, if you don't want it to be commander centric, would be like a reanimator deck that's reanimating like a value piece that is also kind of damage dealing.
It's
So,
funny
like-
that you mentioned this. I have a deck coming out that's exactly that.
Oh,
It'll
okay.
be out by the time this podcast is out, my video about it.
So I was thinking maybe one of the Jin Cataxuses is a great
Oh.
value piece, like the one that doubles your spells or something, is like really good for something like that. It's hard to get rid of, and then it doubles your spells. And then if you're like, cast a bounce spell and you're double bouncing or whatever, like that's really good tempo. And it's like a 5/4, so it like chunks in. And if you play anything else that is a reasonable damaging threat, you can actually win. So that was my idea, but I don't know. What's your reanimation target of choice in this situation?
Vilis, Broker of Blood.
Oh, yeah, that works too. Exactly.
I run a lot of actual reanimate, so like they make me return the creature and then lose the life, so Vilis sees it. There's about like 6 or 7 of those in the deck. So when I reanimate Vilis, I draw 8 cards, and then I just go, okay, great. I have all this white protection because it's an Orzhov deck. So I'm running like Reprieve, I'm running Parting Gust, I'm running Ephemerate, I'm running like all these Dawn Charm, all these cards that just like target creature regenerate. And it doesn't matter that I just spent a card on it because I just draw a million cards with Vilis again. And then I'm mashing you in the air for 8 every turn. There's other targets and funny things the deck does, but that's like the main line I wanted to highlight was Vilis because I love that card.
I think that's a really good example.
So the thing is like the Delver is like super cheap, and you run it out on turn 1 and then prevent your opponent from doing anything until you kill them, which is insane against 3 people in Commander.
It's
So I
really
guess
hard.
you gotta go harder and go Vilis turn 2 or something, and then do the same
Oh
thing.
yeah, Vilis is 1 mana to be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a 1 black mana card.
I feel like, I don't know if I would call this tempo, but Mana Gorger Hider, the thing that becomes super big when people cast spells.
No, for sure, yeah.
This one is also one of these things where you're just like, well, if I can protect this, I'm probably going to run away with this
I mean,
eventually.
it has trample, right? Like,
I think so, yeah.
It does.
I don't know if I would call this tempo, but or Delver style.
Yeah, I mean, like even like sorcery speed protection. Like if we're looking at like a Lightning Greaves, right, in a mono green deck, this is a decent way to go about protecting a Mana Gorger Hydra or something. It's not going to protect you from a Farewell or whatever, right? But nothing will. So just don't even play around it. Kill the white player before they get to 6 mana.
Yeah.
I think that's enough on this question. We can move along here to Swag Sheep. 4 numbers here. When I'm running a wheel deck, does it diminish the power of instant speed removal or counterspells at all? At least when compared to sorcery speed removal.
So I think the reason why this is the specific question, I guess, is that typically a wheel deck, you're going to be keeping cards in your hand for less time. You're not going to have the opportunity to kind of sit around and wait for the optimal moment for a spell. So I wouldn't necessarily say instant speed, maybe counterspells, but I would say more specific types of removal. If you have like kind of more of a generalist card that has multiple modes or targets a whole bunch of different types, then that's not going to be as much of a problem. But if you have something that's a little bit narrower, where you're going to be wanting to wait around a turn or two to kind of find the optimal play situation for it, it might be a bit worse.
Yeah, maybe not play negate, but I don't know. What's the one with escalate? Not escalate, where you can pay extra to copy something and then draw cards.
Like 3 steps ahead?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a good one.
something like this. So you can get it out of your hand at some end step if you can't fire it off. Or like Archmage's Charm. Like multiple modes seem pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that answer a lot. These like modal counterspells do exist. Sadly, a lot of the modality is drawing extra cards, but there is some like unsubstantiate where it's like return a permanent or a spell to, or a creature or a spell to its owner's hand for 1 and a blue.
Oh yeah, or Venser or something.
Yeah,
true.
Venser would
Like
be.
CW.
And the best thing about returning the spell to its owner's hand is you just wheel it away. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's gone.
You're right.
It also probably depends what type of wheel you're using, because if it's wheels that count the cards in your hand, then those less card efficient cards probably aren't going to be as useful. But if it's something that checks cards in like an opponent's hand, or like the highest cards in hand at the table, unsubstantiate is pretty card inefficient, but that doesn't matter if you're going to be resetting to that highest value, especially if you give that opponent an extra card.
I also think it like matters why you're using the wheels. If you are in a spell slinger deck and you're using the wheels as a turn extender where you're like, I'm going to refill and then cast more spells and then refill again, versus if you're using it as just like, I'm going to bounce your stuff and then wheel it away. And it's kind of like a tempo play at that point. That would also like impact whether or not you want to lean instant or sorcery speed interaction.
I mean, in Spellslinger, you're not prioritizing removal or something anyways, right? You're just protecting your combo with counter spells. You're not really using them aggressively.
No, 100%, yeah.
Next up is from Cuddly Cactus 14. How many targets should I run for a conditional toolbox tutor, like Fierce Empath or Thalia's Lancers?
Man, that is a good question. Let me check in my lists because before I say something that
I should check my average as well. My instinct is to say a minimum of 3 to 4, but it's really going to depend. I feel like Thalia's Lancers, there are so many good legendary permanents these days that usually you can find more than that are useful.
That's a big thing about Lancers too, is it's legendary permanent. It's any you can, or it's legendary spell. I think you can get like Urza's Ruinous Blast or whatever too from it.
No, legendary card. Yeah, so you can grab
lands or whatever.
Like the legendary lands.
Yeah, so that's a thing that I would make sure to check. So maybe I'd say probably 3. I play Fierce Empath in my Lonis deck, but I didn't really put any targets in here that I'm running just because of this. I have enough. But one thing I tutor out most of the time is Disciple of Freyalise because it's a land. So maybe make sure if Thalia's Lancers can grab like Nykthos, and if you play Fierce Empath, maybe make sure, even you should probably do this anyways in every green deck, but also play Disciple of Freyalise so you can get a land, and then maybe make sure you check different toolbox things, not just number of things, but removal, land, and the thing you like most in a vacuum, like maybe Woodland Bellower to tutor war. Or
yes, Woodland Bellower Fierce Empath is so sweet.
Or Kodama of the East Tree or something.
I used to run that in my Kellen deck. In my Kellen deck, I think Phil really highlighted something very important, is you should have everything you need for your game. So a protection spell, right? Like let's take Recruiter the Guard, for instance. Recruiter the Guard can get anything with toughness 2 or less for 3 mana. And so what you can get is Felia for, of course, a value loop. That's card advantage. You can get the new Spectacular Spider-Man or the Guardian of Faith for protection. And if I need to get a big play, I actually also run Fierce Empath, but I only have 2 hits for it, Bruna and Elishnorn. But the reason why I am running that Fierce Empath is because I can get it with the with the Recruiter of the Guard, so I can turn Recruiter of the Guard into Elishnorn.
Continue, yeah.
And also because I'm mentally ill, I also run Elvish Harbinger, which puts an elf on top of your library. So I can put Fierce Empath on top of my library and then turn that Fierce Empath into an Elishnorn as well. So I'm running Fierce Empath as a tutor target for my other tutors to get Elishnorn or Bruna, whichever one I need.
Yeah, with stuff like the Recruiter of the Guard. For this one, maybe make sure to get, of course, removal, like play, I don't know, Solitude and stuff, but Solitude. Also check off the mana curve. So with this, it's toughness 2 or less. So you can get a, I don't know, Illustrious Wonder Glyph or something as a 5-drop, but then in the early game, you can also get a Esper.
A what?
Illustrious
Wonder Glyph?
The Dryad. I'm just checking a recent deck list, and the most expensive thing to tutor is the Wonder Glyph. Yeah.
It's just like a thick boy artifact creature card.
Yeah, it's a white Tendershoot Dryad.
Yeah, it's a Tendershoot Dryad, yeah. And then Witch Enchanter as a land. And then, I don't know, Ranger of Eos for more tutoring, something like this.
You're speaking my language.
Just keep the train going.
I think it's just important to remember, you can go pretty high with these, but for every card you're adding, just make sure you like it on its own. Make sure it's something you'd be happy enough to draw on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you have more ways to find it in your deck. Because I think it's kind of easy to go, oh, I've designed this perfect toolbox, and this other perfect toolbox, and this other perfect toolbox. But then you'll have a bunch of cards in your deck that you don't actually want to draw. You've just done it to make your perfect toolbox.
Yeah, that's super crucial.
For the number of things, I would say at least 3, so when I play the one that tutors out Stoneforce Mystic, I usually play 3. It's like Skull Clamp, Boots, and then like a Ether Spark. So 3 should be probably same with Urza Saga. But then again, you kind of want to play your ring anyways.
Yeah, it's like, do you want a Cauldron Complete in that kind of deck? Because if you draw Cauldron Complete without the Stoneforge, you feel awful.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the thing you need to be focusing on as well.
Yeah.
Moving on, because I can talk about toolboxes all day. So let's get out of this hell. Oh no! The next question by Alice Storky Yohi 2645 asks how to build a birthing pod / toolbox deck. Am I allowed to run less removal because I have easier access to it? How many creatures of each mana value is most optimal? Oh no, we can't escape the toolbox.
First of all, I think the answer to the question is yes. If you have easier ways to access removal, you do not need as many deck slots dedicated to it. Like the number of controlling cards I have in my Shroom deck it's reasonably high, but it is less high than some of my decks just because I can so easily find it and so easily deploy it, and it almost always feels like I have enough.
Yeah, tutors let you reduce the number of specific effects you have because they're functionally charms. So, if you have a demonic tutor, you can probably go down on a board wipe or a spot removal spell or whatever because it can be those things if needed. And the more flexible your deck is, the less of each specific effect you need.
Yeah, I don't know about the number of, that is very dependent on the kind of toolbox. If it's your commander and it tutors every turn, then load up. And then, I don't know, birthing pod is also then you have to go up the chain. It's
I would similarly go at least 4, maybe 3 in a pinch. But it also depends on how core the mana value is. Like for 3 mana and 4 mana and 2 mana, you definitely want 4 or more. 6 or 7 mana, you can start to dip off around the edges, I think.
It depends really, because if you go let's say mana values 1 through 7 and you have 4 at each, that's probably not realistic. It's probably more heavy at the low end. But even then, I think what you're giving up for in a birthing pod deck in terms of height, you're giving up horizontalness. So you might have you might have a longer chain, but the chain is less diverse. So in a deck with actually my Kellen deck, I have a birthing ritual in that deck, and it is pretty important to the deck. My curve ends at 5, and I run maybe 4 5-drops, but then the rest, everything 4 and below, I run 2 4-drops, and then I run a wall of 3-drops, and then a wall of 2-drops, and then a wall of 1-drops. I'm ritualing in that deck for value, and it lets you go a lot more broad with what you grab, because you can sack a dork into a Spirited Labyrinth, or into a Voice of Victory, or into a Gaddock, or into a Felia. Whereas if you make your chain longer and take up more of your creature slots, you don't have that much flexibility going up your chain. So I think there is something to be said about maybe, do you want a really high mana value chain? Most birthing pod decks end at 5. You get Felidar Guardian, then you get Kiki Jiki, right? This is the combo line for pod. And that ends at 5. So you don't really need maybe 6, 7, 8 drops in that chain. Ultimately, though, it's up to you and how your deck looks. Are you doing Allosaurus Rider BS, right? And you're just cheating in a turn 1, or not turn 1, but a turn 3 or 4 8 drop, right? It's ultimately going to vary, because pod is actually pretty diverse if you're going tall or wide.
It's also going to depend on the mana value of your commander, right? If your commander is a 5-drop that you're willing to sacrifice, you can have less 5s in the list for the pod, because you can play pod on 4, play your commander, and then pod it away, and then just skip right to 6, or whatever number your commander falls at.
All right, moving on. This one is from Felice _. How do you balance your mana curve in a deck focused on something with inherently high mana values, like sea creatures, or perhaps a Celis Reanimator copy blink deck? Hypothetically. Kellis Rune Knight, by the way, if you want to read it, drink it for the audience.
It is 1 and Mardu for a 4/4 human wizard knight. When Kellis enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many +1. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, you put a counter on each creature you control.
Wait, so the question is, you got a lot of high mana value things in your deck, and you want to know how to balance it out?
Yes.
Ramp. Just ramp first, then draw something.
Yeah, right?
I actually bought the precon with Celis in it. It was Terra. And something that bothered me about that deck was that it had a mixture of high cost and low cost creatures. To me, I think if you are outside of green, you should be committing a little bit more. So personally with Celis and Terra, I would go lower costed creatures. I don't think those are the best vehicles for a kind of high mana value reanimator deck. So I think the issue with combining them is that you'll have this kind of, big reanimator cards, but if you hit the section of your creatures that has all the low cost stuff, you're going to be kind of struggling a little bit with that. And then on the other hand, if you hit your high mana value creatures, but then you draw all of your card draw instead, then suddenly you're also having a bad time. So I think if you're not in green, it's generally good to pick to some extent. But the other answer is just going to be running more filtering, having a way to see more of your deck. That's going to allow you to kind of get away with more in terms of kind of mixing your mana values and mixing your play style.
Yeah, I guess if you're in green, it's easiest. Then you just ramp and maybe play stuff that kind of protects you, like Solemn, Wood Elves, Clifftop Retreat. Yeah, and then ramp as fast as you can, draw some cards, and do the thing. Which, pretty easy advice, yeah.
I'm going to hit you guys with the truth, Nuke. Don't ramp. No. You're not hard casting any of your big drops. Don't worry about it. Run Volrath, Stronghold, and Calibrated Blast, and make your average mana value like 5. Just like nuke people for like Draco mana value, Shadow of Death mana value. So you also have Duskmourn's Claim, i.e. Parker Luck, that got printed in Spider-Man. We've had Keen Duelist for a couple years now. These reveal the top card of your library and then nuke someone for that total. Just kill people with your mana value.
I'll give another suggestion. So, we have, if you want to play high mana value cards, obviously you can cheat them into play with any number of things, reanimate them, Quicksilver Amulet, whatever, right? Or you could just play a bunch of ramp and then cast them. Or alternatively, you can just get to the late game. Just play a control deck. Just play some removal. And then eventually you'll hit 8 mana, and then you just cast the 8 drops normally on turn 8.
True. That's good.
That's what I do in my Boros control list. I just cast some board wipes, and then eventually I'm like, okay, here's my Zatalpa. I have no ramp.
I guess board wipes are ramp in a way. You can just get some more turns, play some more lands.
Exactly.
Inherently high mana value, like sea creatures, or perhaps less is. I've had decks where it wasn't quite obvious in the beginning. Like I wasn't playing like Reanimator or something, but then I ended up with like a lot of 6 upwards drops. The best way to mitigate this is a cheap commander. I guess survive or ramp or cheat.
The real answer is you play Thrasios plus whatever other partner you want, and then Thrasios kind of solves all of your problems.
Our answer to our question mentioning Mardu commanders is to play Thrasios.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thrasios will basically it'll fix all your problems. But they said sea monsters, right? I don't know.
They did. Yeah.
Thrasios lives
it's
in
on
the sea.
theme. It is very thematic.
You can make Thrasios sea monsters.
Thrasios is my favorite sea monster.
The Thrasios is a monster. Let's be real.
No, for sure.
They've been giving us commanders like this recently. Like Giada for Angels is a pretty good fix for this. Oh, there was a sea monsters thing that's like a 2-drop and Scryus or something. I don't know how to Google it. Maybe
there's also the 2-mana dragon blue-green commander.
Yeah, the Bard.
Yeah.
Kinestus Priest of Thassa is the Kraken Leviathan Octopus 2-drop.
I have that
you scry
deck.
any number of cards, scry that many +1, and then things.
Yeah. Oh man, just cheat. That's the answer. Just cheat.
Yeah.
I think our final question before we get to the Beseech the Mirror segment here from DP9K. Urgent help needed. I keep putting Ironhoof Boar in every single deck it legally fits in. Is there medicine for this? Well, the answer is no. It's an incredibly good card. It's a 6-mana red artifact creature boar with trample and haste, and you can channel it for 1 in a red and discard it. Target creature gets +3/+1 against trample until end of turn, and it's a 5/4.
You better buy your foil Ironhoof Boars now. After this podcast is going to spike in price. Like crazy.
I'm curious, guys. Where would you put Ironhoof Boar where it would be good?
Yeah, like unironically.
What about a deck that's playing is it Surly Badgesaur?
Yeah, you discard it and then you have it fight something because you discarded a creature card.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some form of living end thing.
Living end.
It has haste by itself. I'd rather cycle than give something +3/+1 and trample, but that's my play style.
I think Surly Badgersaur is the best.
I'm thinking Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro.
Sure.
Or Storev, Devkar and Lich. So you have Secret Commander Storev and like a Jund deck. Storev has trample already. It's a 5/4, but when it does combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you return target creature or planeswalker in your graveyard that wasn't put there this combat. So you can get back a cycled Ironhoof Boar if you do it pre-combat. And then also...
What card is this? Sorry.
Storev, Devkar and Lich. It's a really bad card. More realistically, Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro.
Oh, this one. When it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, return to your hand target creature or planeswalker in your graveyard that wasn't put there this combat. So you can put this in there. Yeah. Just gotta be Jund.
And then, of course...
Just gotta tutor out your Storev to do the thing.
Power play. And then, of course, I think the better choice, of course, is Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro with a red partner. Can't be blocked with toughness 3 or greater. And then when it does combat damage to a player, choose up to 1 target card in a graveyard that was discarded or put there from a library this turn. Return that card to its owner's hand. And then you pair it with Tana. So your teamer... and you hit someone with the Ghost of Ramirez de Pietro, someone who can't block him, and then you swing Taunt at someone else and give her the trample and the +3/+1 and make saprolings, I guess. There you go. There's your Ironhoof Boar.
You played with my goat, Tormod.
No, you can't. You can't.
Why
You're
not?
not in red then.
Tormod has a partner, add a red partner.
But, I guess you can, but then you don't get Ghost.
So you make zombies, you swing with a zombie, you give it +3/+1 and trample. And then you add it back to your hand with something, and you make a new zombie.
The best use of tortured existence, Ironhoof Boar.
Okay, we're moving on to the Beseech the Mirror section. This is where you beseech us for answers. All you have to do is put mirror in your comment, and we will get to it on the podcast. You can also submit questions by adding us on socials, links to those in the description below. Now, the first question we're going to get to is not a mirror question, but one from the niche deck building advice question segment earlier that wasn't deck building advice. So I'll answer the question here now. So the most popular question from my post was from Felixa4705. How to goldfish control decks? How can I simulate using removal and countering spells? I don't want to buy a full control list if it doesn't feel good.
Tell you how I did it, but I don't know. So I just straight up play both 2 of my decks against each other and just act like I don't know. Just do the thing where I think, well, if I didn't know what was in their hand, I would probably do this. And then play both decks. Just goldfish, actually play 2 goldfish things. And then, there's no real other way because you got to interact with something. So might as well act like you are that something and you play, I don't know, some deck you're very versed in or like a deck that you don't need to think about too much, like an aggro deck, no offense. And then, I don't know, act like you do the thing that seems most reasonable. Yeah.
I think for me, I mostly focus on how many openings I get. So what I mean by this is how frequently can I weave in a stock up in my turn and still hold up mana for a counterspell, right? Stuff like this. Or how often can I sorcery speed board wipe and still hold open that 1 mana for an offer you can't refuse? Or, what's the one called? It's the cleave counterspell. It's 1 blue mana counter a spell that wasn't cast from its own. Wash away, yes. How can I hold that up while I also board wipe? So finding openings in your curve to ramp, to create card advantage, or to board wipe at sorcery speed, while also having the time to hold up instant speed at the same time. So it's all about resource allocation, I feel, while play testing a deck. Specifically a control one.
You can kind of go, oh, this is where I would have played a counterspell if it's needed. Oh, this is where I would play a removal spell if it's needed.
Perfectly capturing the tone of a control player.
Right. With my control deck, I had the advantage that I didn't know it was a control deck until I started playing it in paper. But realistically, I think you just need to figure out if the stuff other than the things that contain your opponents is something you enjoy. Because you definitely won't get the interaction right on the first try. But if you're trying to figure out if a deck is enjoyable, see if the stuff outside of the stuff that contains your opponents is fun. Now, if you're playing a terrible control commander like Baral, that might not be much, in which case, I guess if that floats your boat, go for it. But realistically, your deck should have something that it does on its own. So look at that. See kind of how are you building resources? How well does that work alongside your plan of kind of containing what your opponents have? And are you enjoying that part of it?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, honestly, for me, when I'm, goldfishing a control list, it's just like, on, turn 4 or 5 or whatever, when I would have mana for interaction, I would always just go, take it, just throw it in the bin as if I had to use it that turn. Because if you think about it, every turn where you didn't have to use interaction and you get to use your instant speed value gaining pieces, you're, closer to winning as a control player. So you should just do worst case scenario. I have to spend all this, removal, how much can I hold up all other things to like draw cards and play threats, blah, blah, blah. And in a real game, if there's ever a turn cycle where you didn't have to spend removal, that's good for you anyway. So just do like worst case scenario with the goldfish.
You could just roll the dice and just say,
That too.
well, the later in the game, the harder it gets to win the die roll. So like just a 6 means I can cast my draw spell or something. Everything else means I need to bin this counter spell.
Yeah.
Just to make it a little bit more unpredictable.
That was a good question. Okay, so now we're moving on to actual mirror questions. Christopher H. on Spotify asks, Mirror, I cast Peer into the Abyss, targeting myself with Villa's Broker of Blood in play to ask.
Villa's reference. Sorry.
I know. What are some cards that just make you happy to see show up in a game? And then they give the example of they like whenever Descent of Avernus is cast.
Wait, so you don't cast them, but you're happy if somebody else casts them?
I think they're saying if anybody casts it, including
Helm of Awakening is very funny to me.
Helm of Awakening. Oh, the one that makes everyone's spells cost 1 less.
Yes.
Helm of Awakening is funny. I feel like the suppression orb is also funny. I don't remember what it's called. I just like it when spells cost a different amount than they cost. That's funny for all players.
Suppression orb?
You're probably thinking of Sphere of Resistance.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
Oh.
I'm making up artifacts over here.
Yeah, watch out for suppression orb.
Dude, Snail for Watsy, honestly. Wait, hang on. You just make us another Sphere of Resistance, but called Suppression Orb?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of just group hack, right? I don't know if there's a...
See, it's probably group
I guess
hug.
Chaos Warp. I think if I get something removed, and it's a Chaos Warp or like a Tibbard's Trickery, it's like, well, at least I get a shot. That would be that's like the removal I don't mind the most, and it's kind of fun. Same with maybe there's another one, Unexplained Absence. So like removal where you get a little bit out of it, and there's an upside of, hey, maybe I hit something good. Like Unexplained Absence, everybody cloaks a card, so you might get something cool out of it at least.
I think for me, it's one where it gets players talking. So like a fact or fiction or hostile negotiations type effect, where, an opponent gets to like pick and choose, or with like fact or fiction, oftentimes people are discussing like, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to get?
Also the Prisoner's Dilemma is also cool.
Prisoner's Dilemma is really funny. Yeah.
And Coveted Jewel. I mean, Coveted Jewel is just a side quest and kind of the main quest for everybody. Just get the jewel.
Oh, I like a good Palace Jailer in that.
Yeah, that's good too.
I exile your thing. Oh, let me keep the Monarch. Do you really want Shieldred the Apocalypse to come back?
Yeah.
My favorite is, I think, Guided Passage. It doesn't show up very often, but it's so funny. Man, do you know this card, Phil?
Which one?
Guided Passage. It's a teamer for sorcery. The first line is reveal your library.
I know. We talked about this for cards that you should play when you are in the colors. And I have never seen it played, but you gotta play good cards in your deck, right? So it's gotta be good. It also seems super fun. And you can play it. Like, I didn't even think about the political aspect. If you say, well, I do play this card, would you give it to me? Give me trash as the other cards, but give me the farewell or something. I guess, like,
I mean, you can use it to tutor up a Blast Act if someone else is willing to let you cast the board wipe.
Yeah.
I've never seen the political usage of this card, but I have seen it resolve normally with somebody finding just the worst cards in a player's deck.
Which is also funny.
It is funny still for them to get like a mana dork and a mana ramp spell and a land. They're ramping.
I think I have 2 answers to this question. One is Sphinx Ambassador. Mauled played this against me in MagicCon Atlanta, and I stole it with Mutinous Massacre, and then I sawed it in half. So I got 2 Sphinx Ambassadors. Sphinx Ambassador is bribery on a Sphinx every time you hit someone, but that person gets a chance to guess what creature you're briberying. And if they guess correctly, you don't get it.
That is funny.
So I had this one game where I was hitting someone with my copies of Sphinx Ambassador, and I hit them the first time, and I was playing Cormella, keep in mind, big instants and sorceries. And so they're like, Magnus the Red. I'm like, nope, Archmage Emeritus. I hit them with the copy. They're like, okay, now it's this card. I'm like, no, now it's Magnus the Red. And then the cards are reduced because Magnus the Red reduces by copies. Anyway, whatever. That card, hilarious. I need a Sphinx Ambassador deck. Thanks, Mauled.
Card's awesome. What the hell?
It's really cool. Second option for me is Intruder Alarm. I have won so many games with Intruder Alarm. I've never once put it in a deck. I've won with my opponent's Intruder Alarm so often.
That card is so dangerous to cast.
Yeah.
Do people not just like cast it and then win on the
Combo.
spot?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they get hit
size.
with
It's
interaction.
just- oh god.
Someone in my playgroup cast a turn 3 Intruder Alarm, and then in my Farrakha deck, the one that's based around all activated abilities, I took like a 30-minute turn on turn 4, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. And they're just like, we'll just scoop. It's okay. That was a brilliant game. He cut Intruder Alarm immediately after that.
It's not a thing
Well,
you
you
can just like
should play it on curve.
Yeah.
It was in a Helga Skitter Seer deck.
Oh,
This is like when
yeah.
people play like defense grid and then they lose to a combo the next turn because they just pass the turn. Nobody can interact.
The classic Teferi issue where you drop 3 mana Teferi and then no one can counterspell the combo win.
Yeah. There's one, talking about Teferi. There's one thing that I like because it happens very rarely and it's kind of stacks. It's, I don't know the name, I'm blanking right now, but it's a red enchantment. Then when you cast something, you reveal cards until you reveal something of the same possibility storm. I think.
Yeah.
If it happens very, very, very rarely and I don't get locked out, then it's kind of fun because you're kind of playing Mumia with your own deck. And it's like you're still playing your deck. And it's random. I like it to an extent.
Every time I see Possibility Storm, it either A, immediately gets Beseju'd, or B, everyone just starts casting spells that share a type with their artifact and enchantment removal and try to spin into it to destroy it.
Yeah, it's so scary that you can easily lock out the opponent with this.
Yeah, you're spoiled for choice.
But
really.
sometimes it's just funny if you go like, oh, now I play my mana dogs and then get something crazy.
My favorite use for it is with Rurik Thar, because if they cast an instant, they take 6, and then they spin into another instant, and then they cast that, they take 6 more.
Oh,
That is brutal.
It's awesome.
I'm imagining a deck where you have like all the suspend sorceries, and then your commander is Awaken the Blood Avatar Extus, and then you cast Awaken the Blood Avatar, and then you spin into one of the sorceries in your deck, like the Warp World or whatever. And Extus works with a
Yuck.
wide board, so you can do like not Warp World. What am I thinking of? It's the Warp World, but it's personal. You have to suspend it. Glimpse of Tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But you go wide for Extus, and then you play Possibility Storm, and then you sack a few of your wideness to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar for a total of 7 mana, and then you spin into Glimpse of Tomorrow. Wow, that sucks.
Better resolve this still. It's kind of, you do this once.
Everything I just described can be done by Cascade for like 2 mana.
Yes. Phil, are you aware of how we end the podcast?
Not yet.
We got him.
I love it.